Well, greetings, hello, and welcome, my League of Eagles. Welcome to Leaders and Legacy in Style, the divine masculine and the divine feminine combined, balanced, and aligned. It's always good to welcome and to have you here. It's Happy Monday, and every Monday at 3 p.m. we come to you. And this Monday, I'm bringing to you a featured guest speaker because this is a season of joy and thanks. And don't forget this part because this is the big part. It's a season to celebrate you. And what we're going to be talking about today is a means and a way that you can celebrate you. I have a featured guest speaker that's going to share with you a lot of insights, nuggets, and tools and tips that will benefit you when you get ready to go to have a photographic session done. She is sublime in the work that she's done. I've known this lady for quite a while. She moved from the beautiful state of Florida to a state that I know, I don't think I ever told her this, my mother's home state, Mississippi. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But all I want you to do now is just sit back and relax because I'm going to ask my engineer to bring her up. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Dawn, and it fits her. Dawn V, like in victory, Gilmore. And when I think of her name, sometimes I think of the Gilmore Girls. You remember that TV series? It's funny how you align different things with different things, but it's all for a reason. But Dawn is the founder of Dawn V. Gilmore Photographs, a luxury photograph studio, portrait studio. And she's in Biloxi, Mississippi. Dawn has over 16 years experience, but she does branding and she does boudoir settings and she does everything. But what she does and her gift and her passion is bringing out the innate God-given beauty in you. And she has so many different ways to do that. But I want her to share a little bit about her background. So before I go on and on and on, I'm going to ask my engineer now to bring her up and for me to say hello and welcome Dawn V. Gilmore. Dawn, hello and welcome.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm always good. I take the high road. I ride the wave, and so do you. But Dawn, before we get going, welcome and thank you for being here. You know that I love the work that you do, and I don't want to be biased in one side because I want you to share a little bit with us about how you came to do the work that you do and why you love it so much.
Well, about 16 years ago, I was in the land development industry. And at that time, Florida kind of had like a tank in housing. So I had to find a different means of making an income. And a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you're really good with photos. You should do that." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if people will pay me to do that." And he was like, "I'm going to create you a website." And I was like, "Okay." And before I knew it, it was a career. And here I am 16 years later.
I think that's marvelous because you know what I've discovered, Dawn, at this time and stage in this season of life for me, and it will come for everybody at different times, is that usually 99% of the time, you might know what your gifts and talents are, but it's somebody else who comes and reinforces it for you and says, "You know what? You need to be doing this or you should be doing that because this is what you're really good at." And that's what someone did for you. Now, you had been a photographer before that, but you were doing it as a lark, as a fun kind of thing, right? You didn't think you could turn it into business. Yeah. So now in that you've been doing it now for over 16 years, what is the number one, before we get into some of the details, what is the number one thing you find with most people when they come to you for a photographic shooting? What is it that you find that they're most not knowing or unaware or upset about or just nervous about?
I think mainly the thing that I hear from pretty much almost every single woman who comes in for a session or that is in front of my camera is that they feel like they're not photogenic and that they've never had a good photo of themselves. So they don't think that they're able to actually get a good photo of themselves.
I like that. You know why? Because I always say the same thing. I'm not photogenic and I don't like, and when I have to do it, it feels false and not real to me. But you supported me in bringing out the genuine, really natural smile that I have because I love to smile. It's just part of my DNA. Yeah. So when you say that they're not photogenic, I get that because a lot of people don't feel that they are, but then you're able to showcase for them that they are. And that's the beauty of it. So what is the importance of photography that you do and help people? How do you help us to enjoy the session, to be natural and at ease in the session? What is the importance of it that you give to others where you are able to give them these beautiful shots?
Well, the importance is definitely that there is a chemistry and a rapport with myself and the client. And if anyone who's been in front of my camera kind of knows that there's a little trick that I do, and it's take a deep breath, close your eyes, and then exhale, and then I take the picture. And typically that's because most people hold their stress and anxiety in their jaw. So when they try to smile, they give me the fake cheese. And so the way to get out of that is to give them something else to think about. So they're only thinking about, oh, what did she tell me to do? Close my eyes, take a deep breath, exhale. Okay. And so they're paying attention to that, which tends to just drop that stress out of their face. And then sometimes I might say, do a fake laugh, which causes them to give me a real laugh. And then I can capture those smiles that way. But for me, if I can't get that natural smile, I'm going to pull everything out I have in my tricks to get that out of a client, because that's where people can tell whether the client is actually comfortable or not in their photos.
Don, I have to say, I'm chuckling away over here. I'm laughing away because that's me. And I had not heard before, even though you might have mentioned it, the stress in the jaw and the cheek and whatever, and that fake laugh that's not natural. Because somehow when they say smile, cheese, it does feel fake. And I like for the natural kind of thing. And so that is a secret. And so you get them to do that by closing their eyes and doing what now? To be just relaxed?
They close their eyes, take a deep breath, and then exhale. It's basically like a Zen type thing, but because I'm giving you several steps to do, you're thinking about those steps. You're not thinking about, oh, she's getting ready to take my picture. So you're kind of distracted, which gets you to relax a little bit more and not be so worried about, oh my goodness, she's about to take the picture.
Now that's fascinating to me, because I'm going to ask you something. I'm going off the rails here, Don, but I know you can tap dance. Why is it that some of us, myself included, taking photographs and doing that cheese and that smile is so unnatural and uncomfortable for me, whereas for others it's more natural? What is the difference? It's because I like to think that I'm more outgoing and natural and I'm an open book, but maybe I'm not. What is the difference between those who do it naturally and those where it's not genuine and you have to support them and get them to be more comfortable? What is that difference? Do you know what that is?
Honestly, I haven't really seen that. Most everybody who comes in, I have to use that technique on. So I don't usually get people who come in and are just like perfectly, beautifully smiling. Because in general, women tend to have a lot of physical insecurities.
Yes.
And capturing that on film just kind of adds to it. So I don't find that a lot of people walk in just like confident and got this beautiful smile and ready to go. I usually have to kind of warm people up and, get them out of their head.
Right. Yeah. I understand that. And I like that answer. You know why? Because I think most of us think about, and I really do believe this, and if I'm wrong, you can point this out to me. I think because of the entertainment industry, Hollywood, which most of us love, most of the pictures and the photographs that we see, they're so beautiful and they're so natural. But probably the photographer had to do the same thing that you're doing to get them to deliver those types of pictures. So that's a real good. What about posing and lighting? And how do you kind of know, contingent upon the person and their skin tone and their body language and everything? How do you know how to orchestrate that where it gives them the best exposure?
Well, I mean, typically I know that most women are concerned about double chins. It's just kind of innate in everybody. It doesn't really matter how thin your face is. Sometimes you just have certain angles and it looks like you have a double chin. So that's the first thing, is that I try to pose people to accentuate a jawline so that they don't have a double chin. And then the other thing is that most women will be like, oh, I'm too big, or, I look too wide. And that's because typically you're looking in a mirror and you're looking at yourself like a linebacker. You're looking at yourself straight on. But when I'm taking a photo, I'm having you turn different ways. I'm even moving in different angles. So that all tends to change the perspective of your body. And so, most women want to minimize the body and draw the focus off of that, especially if it's a business headshot or it's branding. They're not too concerned about seeing their shape or their S curve. They're more concerned about, are you going to feel like you're able to get a client in just by your headshot?
I like that. You know why? Because you're doing work that is all about empowering women and supporting us to see and feel the best within ourselves. And most of us, because of programming, conditioning, and how we've been sexualized, and I love when you do your boudoir scenes, we'll talk a little bit about that. You're sharing with people how to maximize the best of themselves. And it has nothing to do with size, weight, color, and all age, all of that stuff. That's why I celebrate and applaud your work, because we as women, we have to get away from that mindset, that outlook, which is really deadly to us. And you mentioned that S curve. Curves are good, and they're really in the they're in the stratosphere now. But that's the way. That's another conversation. But how do you support women to learn how to minimize what maybe they don't want to accentuate as much? You mentioned it, with the chin. And what about the neck and the side view of the body and all of those different things? What are some other techniques that you can use, that you do use for women, so they can see the best of themselves when they see their photographs?
Well, typically your eye will go to the brightest thing in a photograph. When you're looking at something, your eye immediately takes you to the brightest part of the image. And so what we want to do, say for a headshot, is you want the face to be the most evenly lit and the one that's the brightest in the image. So that way your eye will go to the face, which then will keep you from looking at things that you don't want people looking at, And so we also tend to light so that you keep things that so I try not to say we're trying to hide anything, but in essence, you want to draw your attention away from something that, bothers you about yourself. So we kind of put that into darkness, because then that way you aren't drawn to it. People aren't going to immediately look at it and go, oh, look at her waist or look at her curves or anything like that. We're going to be like, oh, look at her face. Look how beautiful her eyes are. Look at her makeup, things like that. So I try to use light and shadows to showcase what you want to accentuate and to put into darkness what you want to minimize.
That's exactly what I do, Don, with the women that I work with who are interested in style, a signature style that's indigenous to them and their body, no matter the size, shape, and all those other variables. And it's like a little bit of smoke and mirrors. You accentuate what you want to, but you do it in a way that adds that, wow, she looks great. And you can do that in so many ways. For a long time, I didn't understand smoke and mirrors, but now I kind of get it, because all of us, I don't care what size, shape, color, age, race you are, we have areas of our bodies that we don't want to showcase. And if we do, we want to do it in a way where it's said, wow, she knows how to put herself together. And that's what you do with your photographs that you do. I think it's an art. Now, here's another question. Woohoo, I like going off the rails. When did you realize that you had this gift? It is a gift, it's a talent, that not only can you allow women to feel comfortable, but you can help and showcase for them how they can accentuate their bodies to always showcase the best of them in a way that says, people say, wow, and they applaud and celebrate. That didn't come to you naturally. Was that like a progressive kind of thing that you developed over the years, the 16 years that you've been doing it? Or did it come to you naturally?
I don't think it necessarily came to me naturally, but I had a girlfriend who had said to me, oh, I want to do some, more sexy photos for my boyfriend. Yes. And at the time, I had no clue how to do that. I was not, it was early in the career. I was a natural light photographer outside doing families. I had no clue about lights and how to utilize them or any of that stuff. And so we kind of played around. I did a bunch of images, and the takeaway for me was that she was able to look at these images and see herself in a whole different light. One of the things that I try to do is show my clients the back of the camera as I'm shooting.
Yes.
because I don't want them to feel like I have to Photoshop, because even though it is smoke and mirrors, it's not, it's still you naturally. I don't do tons of Photoshop to try and, you know, make somebody's waist look smaller or whatever. I try to make sure I do it with the posing and the lighting, because I never want my clients to feel like they're only going to look good if I Photoshop the heck out of a photo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately the way society is kind of built right now, because you see these, you know, size 5 women on the cover of magazines, and then they still go in and they make them like this. And it's like, why does it have to be that way? So I want my clients to see that you don't need Photoshop as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that, because as much as I think when you do it in a minimal way, it can be okay. But when you exaggerate it to the 9th degree, it just shows up and it's not right. Don, I love the work that you do, and I want others to enjoy and love it as well, which I'm sure many do, but we want more. But hold tight. I'm going to take a quick little reset, and I'll be back with you in just a second. And
okay, great.
But before, when I come back, Don, what I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit more about boudoir sessions, because every woman is hungry, thirsty, and starved to a degree, sometimes too much so, to be sexy. But there's a way to be sexy with class and elegance and style. That's why I applaud the work that you're doing. So when I come back, we're going to start with that before we wrap the show up. So hold tight.
Awesome.
So interesting. Okay, we got it. One of the things I want you to be aware of is that every woman that I bring, every lady, every female that comes on this show, I ask her to join Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies. And that said, I want you to take advantage of this, because your vision and your mission and your purpose matters. But much more important is that when we talk about collaboration and change and community, your assignment is, when you join that group, our group, my group, is to connect with the other ladies there. Send out little love notice. Say, I like what you're doing. I'd love to get to know you more. Make connections, because you can never, ever have too many women or people in your community. So make sure you do that. And this is a group that's all about women knowing their own power, owning their radiance, their power, and their style. And in alignment with that, I have a style clarity bundle. It's 7 steps. It's the beginning seeds. It's the beginning rebirth of what we're talking about in a different way today, about how you can own your own signature style, knowing who you are. But the beauty of this package is that you get a one-on-one session with me, and I don't profess to be the expert, the influencer, the all-knowing one. But what I do have is a strong sense of aesthetics, just like my featured guest speaker has a strong sense of how to use that camera to bring out the best in you. I do it with how you show up. And if you're not interested, I get that, because a lot of women aren't. But if you are, this is something you don't want to miss. So take a screenshot or take a snapshot and join with me. It's well worth the investment you're going to be making in yourself. And then Dawn has a graphic here. I love Dawn V. Gilmore. She does all different types of photography. The boudoir settings, photography sessions, is what she's kind of known for, but she does everything. And she does it with such style, such elegance, and such grace. You cannot help but look at these photographs and say, wow. So you have an assignment. I want you to take a screenshot or a snapshot, get her, remember her name, her number, her website, email, whatever, and make sure you connect with her, because she does fantastic, phenomenal platinum work, and you won't regret it. All righty. That said, now let's talk a little bit about your boudoir settings, because sexy is a word, in my humble opinion, and I think you can take this with grace. I think this word sexy is overused, but the way that you do it, it has elegance, it has class. So how did you mentioned it before and alluded to it, but briefly, share with us a little bit how you came to do these boudoir sessions and why they're so major and important for you now.
Well, one of the main reasons that I really enjoy doing them is I kind of like the challenge of when somebody walks in and they go, good luck making me look good. And then I'm like, challenge accepted. And then by the time they walk out, they're walking out with this, I don't know, just this newfound confidence where they're like, okay, I am all that. And it's like, there is no reward like that. And for me, like, there's it's just, I've shot everything. I've shot, weddings and portraits and families and things, but the high that I get from when my clients are that high from their experience of having a boudoir session, really it just warms my soul. It's like, it's why I feel like I was put on this earth, to show women that it's not Photoshop. You don't have to show everything under the sun in order to be sexy and beautiful. It's more, and like you said, sexy is kind of overused. So for me, it's like that classical beauty, and you're teasing the viewer a little bit, but you don't have to show everything. My grandmother used to always kind of be like, you don't have to show everything, you got to make them work for it. So, and keep that secret, or keep that, special for somebody in your life. You don't have to show it all out there for everybody. Now, of course, I do have clients that want to show it all, and that's totally fine too. Sure. But for me, I just, the high I get from a client, like walking out thinking and feeling like they are just the hottest thing on the planet, that there's nothing like it.
I like what you said there, because my grandma and the grandmas before and all the grandmas going forward, they're always going to say, the majority of them, there are always exceptions, you don't have to show it all. And that's what we have gotten to. But one of the reasons that I love the work that you do, Dawn, is that however you do it, there's that elegance, there's that class and sophistication about it. It shows up. What would be the number 1, 2, 3? I heard you say they come in and they say, well, I don't know, whatever. But what are the 1 or 2 things that they don't want to show and they don't feel good about and they don't want you to photograph? I mean, I'm sure it's different for everybody, but how would you break it down? 1, 2, 3. What would that be?
One of the biggest majorities is cellulite. Everybody is like, oh, we don't want to see my cellulite, loose skin type of thing. And so for me, one of the things is with cellulite is that darkness is falling into those areas. So in order to not see it, I could completely darken the scene, but instead what I do is fill it with light, because with anything, even on our face, most people love a selfie in the car and they don't know why they like the selfie in the car. And the reason is because you're literally an entire bubble of light surrounding your whole face. And so there's no darkness. There's no dark circles. There's no, like scarring. There's no fine lines, because everything's filled with light. It's where those fill with darkness that we accentuate and see them. And so for me, cellulite is probably the number one thing that people are like, I don't want you to show it. I don't want you to show it. Or I can't take any full body photos because, I have cellulite. And, it's funny because a friend of mine here, she calls it her hail damage. If she's watching, she will know exactly who it is that I'm talking to. But I always laughed about that, because I was like, it's not what you're seeing. I don't see what you're seeing, but we are all our hardest critics.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And you just gave us, I am sure, a fabulous awareness and a tip that I wasn't aware of. I didn't know that those who are taking all of those selfies in the car, that's one of the reasons why they like them so much. I had not in any way fathom that type of being. That's interesting, fascinating. And you also mentioned a lot, Don, as you speak with us about different things about the light and the dark, because everything has a light and a dark, the good and the so-so. So it's a matter of how you utilize it, how you use it, and the way that you express that. That's great. Because I think that even maybe the younger girls who come to you, as opposed to the middle and the seasoned women who come to you, have cellulite, contingent upon what their diet and so on and so forth. Fascinating, fascinating. Other than cellulite, what would be something else that they say, I don't want, because I'm thinking something else and I'm wondering if you're going to say it. What is
boy.
That it might be that they don't want you to photograph. They don't want it to be seen. So what would that be? Cellulite?
I mean, honestly, it's just the usual things like, when you bend or when you're sitting, your stomach tends to, wrinkle and fold, but that's the nature of skin. It's supposed to do that. And so most women are like, oh, I don't want you to do that. I don't want to see that. And I'm like, but if you don't, you look like a plastic Barbie doll skin, because that's not normal. It doesn't do that. When you bend, there's going to be creases. It doesn't matter what part of your body you're bending. And so, like, for me, it's just, again, drawing your eye away from the areas that you don't want to showcase. But I'm interested to see what it is that you are thinking.
Well, you answered it in a way a little bit different, but what I'm thinking for most women, and even for young girls, I've noted, because I'm around a lot of young people all the time, I was thinking maybe, however, it would be the stomach.
Yeah.
How your stomach, however, more so, most of them are happy to showcase the, I call it the two B's and the V, the B-U-T-T in the back, but that they're happy to showcase regardless of what. But the stomach is something that kind of takes away from, I'm thinking. So I would think cellulite would be number one. I tell you, how do you, you've already mentioned it, but having a photo session, how do you've already mentioned it in several different ways, Don, but how can we wrap this up? What is it that you give us that gives us fresh eyes to view and see ourselves so that we can take more pleasure in what you present and give back to us in a photo session? What is that? How do you do that?
How I do it, I don't know, because it's just kind of like in me. I have people tell me all the time, there's just something about me that's different. And I don't know what it is. I'm just me. I'm like your biggest hype girl when we're having a session. But, you know, for me, it really is just, you know, trying to train your eyes to see the things that you love about yourself versus accentuating or drawing your attention to the things you don't like. I think in general, if we did that as women, we wouldn't be so hard on ourselves. If you were to stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself full body, the first thing you're going to do is say, oh, I don't like this, or I don't like this, or I don't like this. And I don't want that to be the way that we are as women. It should be, oh, look, okay, I have some stretch marks, but I gave birth to a couple of amazing children. Or, you know, instead of looking at all of these things as flaws, they're not flaws. They're what makes you the warrior that you are.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And Don, I don't bow to anyone. I don't put a tiara or a crown on anyone. I do it in jest and love, but I really celebrate the work that you're doing because I know how great it is. But you know what you're leaving me with? Because this is what I say too all the time. People ask you, how do you know this? Or how did you get this? Or how, and your answer was brilliant for me. And for those who really are aware and are beginning to know who they are, I really don't know how I do it. I just do it and I have a love for it. That's what you ended with. I don't think there's anything better than that. The time flies here, my lady love. It's almost over. It's over. So what do you want the takeaway to be? I'm going to ask my engineer to put up your graphic one more time. And what is it that you want those who are now, maybe for the replay, what do you want to leave them with? What do you want the biggest takeaway to be?
Well, mainly just that, you know, we don't need to be photoshopped to be beautiful. You just need to retrain your eye to see the beauty in yourself versus looking at the flaws in yourself. Ooh. Or what you perceive as flaws. Other people, like your children, when they look at you, they're not looking at those things that you're looking at, like your stomach or your cellulite. They're looking at the person that nurtures them and loves them. And they don't see those things that you are focusing on. So just kind of think about, you know, when you're talking to yourself and you're putting yourself down, which is what many women do. Would you want your child to be doing that? Would you want them to be saying that to themselves? Of course not. So treat yourself the way you would want your kids to be treated. And, you know, remember that, you know, we're all perfectly imperfect.
Woo! You couldn't have ended on a better note. I really, I celebrate and applaud you always for that. I love that we're connected. My engineer is going to put you in the green room. Thank you so much. I think you've given us more jewels than you know. Wow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My League of Eagles, our time together always soars by far too quickly. Only thing I want you to remember is that what Dawn shared with us is so perfect. There's no perfect, but what she shared was absolutely profound at the end here. That whatever it is you want to perceive about yourself, know that it's love that comes through first. And there's so many ways that you can embody that. Thanks for joining us for this uplifting episode. My heart is always filled with love and enlightenment and awareness for you and for me. And Dawn has so much to offer you. And if you're not familiar, she travels and she goes here, there, and about, and she books far ahead. So make sure, however you do it, connect with her. And when she's here or near or there, you'll find a way that you can have photographs made by her, because you'll be more than surprised in the best way at how they turn out. My Eagles, remember this. This is a season of joy and thanks. So celebrate you. That's what we talked about today in a different way. Liberation comes first, the breaking free. Dawn spoke to that in a light way, the letting go of what no longer serves you. And only then does real empowerment take root, real and lasting, because that's what you want. So when you step into your signature style, wear it with confidence. That's what Dawn is about as well. There's so many different ways to own your confidence and truly own your spotlight. Remember the Style Clarity Bundle for you. So let's stay connected, because that one-on-one that I offer you will give you so many insights of things, the fashion industry that I love, the entertainment industry that I love, the communications industry that I love. I don't need to say this, but I'm going to say it. Many have dropped the ball, but not you and not me, because we are the new examples. And that's exactly what we're here to do. The takeaway that Dawn left me with so much, but was taking that photograph in the car. I never was aware of that. So think about that for a wee bit. My Eagles, be and stay well. Enjoy the rest of this week. And then remember, I'll see you on Wednesday. I send you always much, much love from my heart to yours. Until we connect again, all the best and much love. Cheers.